Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Tuesday edition of our show. Hope you all had a nice, relaxing weekend and your weeks are off to a productive start. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado, here at A's Day, talking everything A's baseball. We appreciate you all stopping by today. Today is Tuesday, March 2nd. We got a good show for you. With the World Baseball Classic underway, we take a look at how the A's representatives have been doing thus far, including Darell Hernaiz, making history for Team Puerto Rico. Later, we head on down to Mesa and check in on some things of note going on in A's camp as we rapidly approach opening day in Toronto. Next, we discuss a report that the A's are interested in reaching an extension agreement to secure their backstop plans with Shea Langeliers for the long term and what that could potentially look like. And before getting on out of here, we hope you enjoyed the Denzel Clark A's player preview and prediction episode from earlier this morning. We got a twofer today since we may release more than 26 episodes based on players we feel will make an impact on this year and we want to talk about. Today, we conclude continuing on with A's player preview and prediction, discussing the 2026 outlook for outfielder Carlos Cortes. Holy Toledo, let's go A's. All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you again for tuning in to this Tuesday edition of A's Day, or whenever you're listening to this episode. We appreciate all of your support. As a reminder, be sure to continue to listen, download, and like wherever you can. Wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, continue to listen to A's Day. We appreciate all of your support. Continue to check us out on our social media platforms as well, on Instagram at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball, and be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel for A's player interviews, video editions of these podcast episodes, as well as our A's baseball content creation that is experiences that will continue to be uploaded on our YouTube channel throughout this year and for years to come. You won't want to miss out on all that exciting content. And become an official subscriber of A's Day on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day. For just $2 a month, you'll be entered to win monthly A's Day t-shirts, A's autographed memorabilia, future A's game tickets, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. All right, let's talk about the A's representatives that have been competing in the World Baseball Classic. With the exciting international tournament nearing the end of pool play at the time of recording, we wanted to take a look at how the A's players competing in it have been faring thus far. And let's start with perhaps the biggest story of the tournament from at least the A scope of things. Let's start with Darell Hernaiz, who is representing Team Puerto Rico. Through WBC action in pool play, he has played in 3 games. He's batting .308, which is 4 for 13 with a home run, an RBI, and an .845 OPS. That home run and RBI were both monumental and historic. Darell Hernaiz hit a 374-foot home run to left field in the 10th inning Saturday night, lifting host Puerto Rico to a 4-3 World Baseball Classic victory over Panama at Hiram Bithorn Stadium in San Juan. Hernaiz faced a 1-2 count with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th inning before sending the ball out to left field. Hernaiz is a native of San Juan, by the way, which we talked about in one of our latest A's player preview and prediction episode, so you know that had to mean a little bit more to him emotionally. He also singled in the 5th inning of that game, raising his average to .308 for the tournament, which includes homering off Panama's Severino Gonzalez. Hernaiz's heroic shot resulted in the second walk-off win of the day in the World Baseball Classic, and in fact, the second in World Baseball Classic history. The first one occurred earlier in the day in Miami as Ozzie Albies from the Atlanta Braves hit a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th inning to lead his native Netherlands over Nicaragua at Lone Depot Park. Shortly before this World Baseball Classic had its rosters finalized last month, A's manager Mark Kotsay received a phone call from Red Sox manager Alex Cora for some intel on Darell Hernaiz as a potential candidate for Team Puerto Rico. On Saturday night, after the game, Cora reached out to Kotsay again, this time via text, with 2 simple words: thank you. When superstar Francisco Lindor was deemed unavailable to play in the Classic, Cora, who was previously Puerto Rico's general manager in 2017 and remains involved with the team's baseball operations, scoured around the league for possible replacements. Hernaiz was on the country's radar, and it was Catcher's strong endorsement that helped get the 24-year-old A's infielder on the roster. The celebratory trip around the bases was almost as epic as the homer for Hernaiz, who said he blacked out as he jumped around with his arms in the air before pulling up for a basketball jump shot near home plate where he was mobbed by teammates. The A's liked what they saw from Hernaiz, who, before departing for World Baseball Classic, was 5 for 11 with 3 doubles in 5 spring games before he left, and he's keeping himself in good standing for a roster spot with his hot start in the World Baseball Classic. That was awesome. That was one of the top moments from this World Baseball Classic. It's either that one or the Albies one. Has to be winning it for your country, and Hernaiz, being a native of San Juan, Puerto Rico, doing it in his hometown must have been a feeling that is indescribable. And it was such a joy to watch. Got the opportunity to see it. It's like, all right, I'm tuning in to see what he does representing the A's. And he does it in such grand fashion. Absolutely electric moment. Something that he will never forget in his young professional career. But that's going to be a tough one to top, I'm sure. Obviously, he's got plenty of baseball moments that lie ahead with him, but being able to do that in Puerto Rico, that's going to be at the top, I'm sure, of his personal career highlights when it's all said and done. But congrats to Hernaiz, and Team Puerto Rico's off to a great start. They're 3-0, and in fact, another A's player is on Team Puerto Rico as well. Didn't hit a walk-off home run, but is a part of the club that has already clinched its spot into the quarterfinals round. And of course, I'm talking about outfielder Carlos Cortes, who we're going to talk about later on today's show. He has appeared in 2 games. He's hitting .222, and he has batted 2 for 9. As we roll along here, hear how some of the other players from the A's have fared thus far. Joey Meneses, who was recently signed this offseason to a minor league deal, is representing Team Mexico. He has only had 1 at-bat in this World Baseball Classic. It actually came during their last game against the USA in that 5-3 loss. In a pinch hit variety, he grounded out in his 1 plate appearance thus far. Luis Severino got a start for his native Dominican Republic, and he was solid against the Netherlands. He pitched 4 innings, allowed 3 hits, 1 run, no walks, 5 strikeouts. Denzel Clark is manning center field for Team Canada, with him, his native Toronto being the place that he calls home. In the World Baseball Classic thus far, he's only played 2 games. That's all Canada's played thus far. He's 1 for 6. He does have 2 RBIs. And Elvis Alvarado is also on Team Dominican Republic. He's only appeared in 1 game. In fact, he's only faced 1 batter, but it must have been a double play because he's pitched 2/3 of an inning with that 1 batter's faced and hasn't allowed any action. So I love all these players that are competing, but loving that the A's that are in this getting the opportunity to get those competitive juices flowing. And to me, the 2 that really stand out are Hernaiz and Sevy. I think it's really important for both of them to get off to a strong start for different reasons. Hernaiz, he's in the midst of a third base battle with a conglomerate of guys that are also off to strong spring training starts. So for what Hernaiz has done down in Mesa thus far and now on a big stage with the World Baseball Classic, to me, each day that he's competing, he's penciling himself in further and further onto this roster. And as for Luis Severino, this is a big year for him. Coming off a tough year, looking to bounce back and be the ace he was brought in to be last offseason. I do feel like what we've seen from Sevy's 2 starts down in Mesa and now in the World Baseball Classic are going to be a lot more accustomed to what the Sevy we were expecting last year. I feel like he's made the adjustments to be a more formidable pitcher, even in the tough confines of Sutter Health Park. And I feel like what we're seeing from Sevy thus far, we got to love. So I feel like those are 2 pieces that I feel like are going to really carry significant weight on this year, especially Sevy. But Hernaiz, really, we'll see if he's doing enough to win that third base job. And nevertheless, like I mentioned on the A's player preview and prediction, he, to me, is a true X factor on the 2026 club. All right. So if you haven't had the opportunity to tune in, be sure to check it out. World Baseball Classic. There are today and tomorrow, the last 2 days of pool play before postseason tournament action kicks off on Friday for the quarterfinal round. The competitive juices have been flowing globally, And even if your favorite players aren't in it, if you're a fan of the game of baseball, it's really scratching my competitive itch in terms of our impatience awaiting the return of regular season baseball in 2026. It's been a great tournament thus far, and looking forward to seeing how it continues to unfold. If you aren't aware, USA is off to a strong 3-0 start as well. All right, moving on. Let's move back to focusing on what the A's have been up to while some of their players have been playing globally. Business as usual has been going on in Cactus League action down in Mesa, Arizona, as through 17 spring training games, the A's have compiled a record of 7-10, currently being on a 3-game winning streak. Not that results necessarily matter in this exhibition format, just something that perhaps may pique your curiosity. We're going to talk about some performances of note, and we're going to start with the major one, which was Leo DeVries, who is their top prospect. DeVries, he hit his first 2 home runs of the spring against the Los Angeles Dodgers. It might be the first time Leo DeVries slugged a home run rocking the Kelly and green gold, hitting a home run in those threads, but it certainly won't be the last. These are just Cactus League games after all, and DeVries throttled not 1 but 2 home runs in an 11-7 victory against LA this past Sunday at Hohokam Stadium, his first with the white script Athletics across his chest. In the 4th inning, DeVries quickly got behind in the count against Dodgers number 24 prospect Kyle Hurt, but the righty hung an 0-2 changeup, and the switch-hitting shortstop deposited it over the right field fence for a 2-run shot. An inning later, DeVries watched as Los Angeles made a pitching change prior to his plate appearance. He knew nothing about right-hander Carson Hobbs aside from his warm-up tosses. On the second pitch of his at-bat, he whistled an elevated fastball out for a grand slam to nearly the same spot as his first homer. His performance makes him the first A's player to collect 6 or more RBIs in a Cactus League game since Brandon Allen on March 4th, 2012. Both balls hit in excess of 101 miles an hour would have been home runs in all 30 regular season MLB parks. DeVries is slashing .385, a .429 on base, and .615 slug, 10 for 26 across 11 games, and his 16 total bases ranked tied for third among all athletics. The question at this point is seemingly not if, but when he will bring his potentially transcendent skill set to a big league diamond. Off to an electrifying start, and it seemed like a foregone conclusion that we wouldn't see DeVries in 2026, but I really feel like he's forcing the A's hand that perhaps we will see DeVries at some point this year. I don't think it'll be right out of spring training. I think they're going to want to see him get some more seasoning against AA and AAA pitching, but perhaps if he has a strong start there, just like Nick Kurtz, perhaps we'll see DeVries at the major league level sooner rather than later. And plus, with him only being 19 years old, they don't want to rush his development, but man, this kid truly looks like the real deal. Looking forward to seeing him continue to blossom in his development, and hopefully we see him in West Sacramento this year and provide a boost to a lineup that I feel like is already going to be ever so potent. Let's continue moving along with some other guys and how they performed in spring thus far. Another top prospect, Henry Bolte. Through 11 games, he's batting .444 with a home run, 3 RBIs, 3 doubles, and a 1.149 OPS. Tyler Soderstrom, through 10 games, has hit 2 home runs and 8 RBIs with a .346 average and a 1.008 OPS. Max Muncy off to a strong start, trying to win the everyday third base job. Through 11 games, he's batting .294 with a home run, 5 RBIs, and a .955 OPS, although he has made 2 errors at the position in 14 chances. Darell Hernaiz, who we've already talked about, off to a .455 start through 5 games in Cactus League action, but is also 4 for 13 in World Baseball Classic, including that walk-off home run for Team Puerto Rico, and he has been fielding it at 1,000 fielding percentage in both areas thus far. Tommy White, another top prospect, through 10 games is off to a strong start, hitting .444 with 3 home runs, which leads all athletics players through spring training action, 8 RBIs, and a 1.421 OPS, including crushing 2 of those home runs during big league weekend action in Vegas against the Angels. On the pitching side of things, Gage Jump is off to a strong start in his first taste of big league action in camp. He's through 3 games appeared. He's pitched 6 2/3 innings, walked 3 batters, struck out 4, and pitched to a 2.70 ERA. We've already talked about Luis Severino at the World Baseball Classic with his strong 4-inning outing, but before he had left, he had pitched a 2-inning start in his first taste of 2026 spring training action. 2 innings, a walk, 3 strikeouts, didn't allow any runs. Hogan Harris has been pitching rather well out of the bullpen as well. He's appeared in 4 games, pitching 5 innings, allowing 3 walks, striking out 9, which leads all Athletics pitching, and hasn't given up a run as he looks to secure perhaps the closer role going into the 2026 season. So that's a wrap. A quick little check-in on how things are going for the A's as they get closer and closer to gearing up for regular season action. It seems like a lot of guys are performing and kicking themselves into gear for the 162 marathon that shortly lies ahead. This episode is brought to you by the Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena. Stay in the heart of downtown at Holiday Inn Sacramento Downtown Arena, ideally located near Old Sacramento Waterfront, Golden One Center, and Downtown Commons Doco. Our full-service Sacramento hotel is just 15 minutes from Sacramento International Airport and within walking distance of the California State Capitol and Safe Credit Union Convention Center. Host meetings, conferences, and social events in our flexible boardrooms and ballrooms supported by experienced on-site sales and events teams. Enjoy modern amenities including a rooftop outdoor pool, on-site fitness center, and Cypress Grill restaurant serving breakfast, dinner, and cocktails. Guest rooms and suites feature comfortable workspaces, contemporary amenities, and city views, making them ideal for both short stays and extended visits. Whether you are attending an event, planning a meeting, or exploring Sacramento dining, entertainment, and cultural attractions, our downtown location keeps you close to it all. Downtown access, full-service comfort, easy booking. Stay at our downtown Sacramento hotel. All right, let's move on to our next topic of discussion. As we mentioned at the top of the show, there have been reports that the A's have expressed some initial interest in inking an extension with catcher Shea Langeliers. The A's have been the most active team in baseball when it comes to extending young players over the past year and are still trying to ink a few members of their young core of hitters to long-term deals. In addition to their recent extension offer to reigning AL Rookie of the Year Nick Kurtz, the A's have made some efforts to sign catcher Shea Langeliers. A's general manager David Forst and his staff have reached long-term deals with outfielder Lawrence Butler, shortstop Jacob Wilson, outfielder Tyler Soderstrom, and designated hitter Brent Rooker. Langeliers, 28, is a fairly natural extension candidate, but could also be tougher to sign than many of his teammates. Unlike Butler, Wilson, and Soderstrom, he's already reached arbitration and commanded a notable 1-year salary, agreeing to terms on a $5.25 million deal for the upcoming season. With another pair of arbitration raises looming before he reaches free agency in the 28 to 29 offseason, Langeliers could realistically take home between $25 and $30 million over his 3 arbitration seasons. Langeliers is also represented by the Boras Corporation, and while the narrative that Boras clients don't sign extensions is a bit overstated, there's no denying that such occurrences are rare. There have only been 7 extensions of 3 or more years for Boras clients over the past decade. There haven't been any extensions for Boras rep players in Langeliers' service class between 3 and 4 years that have bought out free agent seasons in that time. What could a contract extension look like? Langeliers probably won't be enticed by Alejandro Kirk's 5-year, $58 million deal at this juncture, and the A's would presumably balk at locking him in for the $105 million guarantee, $99.4 million in new money that the Mariners gave to Cal Raleigh. The man he replaced behind the plate for the A's, Sean Murphy, signed a 6-year, $73 million deal that might be more in the ballpark of market value for Langeliers. It's not entirely clear whether Langeliers is open to an extension, but it's somewhat notable that they're still working to get their most prominent unsigned regulars locked up on long-term deals. I hope they get this done because currently where the A's are at as an organization, they don't have a ton of depth at the catcher position. So I feel like Langeliers is in a stronger position of power here, and perhaps the negotiations here will take a bit longer because I feel like Langeliers and his camp know how much the A's need him, whereas if Langeliers continues on this upward trajectory, can only imagine with a catcher market that typically is always limited, it seems like on the open market, how much Langeliers can garner by the time his time comes at the conclusion of the 2028 season. So I feel like the A's are going to have to get creative here. They're going to have to perhaps provide a little bit longer of contract length that they may be comfortable giving a catcher, but may have to bolster the AAV. And it's good to do that now as compared to perhaps another all-star type campaign where that number is only going to rise. But I think this is very important. It's important that I tip my cap to the A's that they're locking up all their important pieces to be pillars for the present and the future. But I think a lot of it starts at who your catcher is, and Langeliers continues to show why he should be the guy. Coming out a breakout year, I think, especially with how friendly Sutter Health Park is to offensive players, it seems like Langeliers is going to show at least significant offensive prowess for over the next 2 years amongst his peers throughout the AL and throughout all of Major League Baseball. So I think it makes a lot of sense that the A's can get this done now, sooner rather than later, get it done, get it on the books. So that's one less worry you have as you continue to try to construct the next championship era of A's baseball. But love that this report is out there. It means that these talks are active. They continue to try to land an extension with Kurtz. If they can get Kurtz and Langeliers done, then that takes care of a lot of their work internally, and now can go out and add upon it over these next few years to help perhaps supplement the next A's World Series team. But we certainly have some time for all of that. Let's move along to our final topic of discussion on this edition of A's Day. Like we mentioned, to kick things off, that we are going to continue on with another edition today of A's Player Preview and Prediction. The reason why we are doing that is when we were looking at all the players that we want to talk about, it may end up in the 30s range. We do know that we don't have the days to get to that in time, with the opening day being set for March 27th for the A's. So with that, there are going to be a couple days. It's going to be a little bit of bonus content, but these episodes are short, and these segments are on the shorter side, so typically won't add too much to your listening time required. But appreciate all of your support, and we're excited to continue to talk about the great players on this young ascending rosters, as today we stay in the outfield and share our thoughts on outfielder Carlos Cortes, who's entering his age 28 season and is a native of Orlando, Florida, who has accrued 0.076 years of MLB service time, with 2025 being his first taste of Major League action. Cortes was initially drafted by the Mets in the 20th round of the 2016 draft out of high school, as we get to know him a bit. But he did not sign, and he opted to play college ball at the University of South Carolina for 2 years. That move would end up paying dividends for Cortes' draft stock for his professional career. Cortes was again drafted by the Mets, but this time in the third round of the 2018 Major League Draft. He signed with them for a reported $1 million signing bonus on June 25th, 2018. Cortes made his professional debut for the low-A Brooklyn Cyclones, hitting .264 with 4 home runs and 24 RBIs. He spent the 2019 season with the high-A St. Lucie Mets, over 127 appearances for St. Lucie. Cortes slashed .255 at .336 on base and .397 slug with 11 home runs, 68 RBIs, and 26 doubles. Cortes spent the 2021 season with the Double-A Binghamton Rumble Ponies, where he batted .257 with 14 home runs and 57 RBIs over 79 games. He would split his 2022 season between Binghamton and Triple-A Syracuse Mets, and 123 games between the two. Cortes slashed .223 at .295 on base and .369 slug with 12 home runs and 55 RBIs. He would go on to make 118 more appearances for AAA Syracuse during the 2023 season, batting .241 with 15 home runs and 54 RBIs. He returned to Syracuse in 2024, playing in 83 more games and hitting .246 with 16 home runs, 52 RBIs, and 3 stolen bases, before eventually electing free agency following that season. On November 18, 2024, Cortes signed a minor league contract with the A's. On July 15, 2025, the A's added Cortes to their 40-man roster and immediately optioned him back to AAA Las Vegas. On July 24th, in a game against the Houston Astros, in the top of the second inning in his second career at-bat, Cortes got his first MLB RBI on a sacrifice fly. In quick succession, bottom of the third, he threw out a runner at second from far right field, and in the top of the fourth inning, singled for his first MLB hit. On September 6th, Cortes hit his first career home run off position player Scott Kingery of the Los Angeles Angels. Overall, in 42 games, Cortes batted .309, a .323 on base, and a .543 slug, which was good for a .132 WRC plus, and handled the outfield well, ending with a +1 defensive run saved and +1 outs above average. He did only walk 3% of the time, but he did have numerous epic plate appearances that saw a lot of pitches and were impressive in their own right. Cortes' future with the A's is clouded by the unexpected early success of Tyler Soderstrom. had moving to left field. That gives the A's not one but two corner outfielders who bat left-handed and figure to play every day, with the other being Lawrence Butler. A strong regression candidate with his 347 BABIP and 318 expected WOBA against his actual 363 WOBA, likely Cortes will either hang out at AAA as depth in case one of Soderstrom Butler hits the IL, or he might make a case for himself to be one of the backup outfielders, perhaps in tandem with a right-handed batting true center fielder like Junior Perez. Cortes could be a valuable pinch hitter to have as a card to play, and the team doesn't have a natural left-handed alternative on the 40-man roster, as Perez, Colby Thomas, and even Brett Rooker are all right-handed hitters. Cortes is currently representing Team Puerto Rico in the World Baseball Classic along with Darell Hernaiz as they ramp up for the 2026 season. So with Cortes, I think he's a very interesting piece, and we had an opportunity to actually interview him before a game. Shout out if you want to check it out. Check out one of our old A's Day clips. It's also available on our YouTube channel as well. But I think he's very intriguing, what he can provide. He's a very versatile outfield piece, and I feel like he makes the bench just a bit more versatile to have that one left-handed bat off the outfield or off the bench. And I know you have two left-handed starting outfielders currently in the outfield set for Sodi and Butler, but I feel like if you're two right-handed on the bench, then it kind of handcuffs you from being able to play matchups against the opponents that are trying to play matchups themselves with the arms that they're going to bring in. Perhaps that'll make it easier on opponents to just bring in their righties for a righty lane so they know there isn't going to be a left-handed option that's going to be available off the bench. So I think for that reason, Cortes could be valuable, but even his at-bats seemed so quality from the eye test last year. And you saw his slug really take off in September, and I feel like he's got some good positive momentum heading into 2026. He is someone, isn't necessarily going to walk a ton, but I feel like he has a willingness to go to opposite field and is going to see 5, 6, 7 pitches more times than not. I feel like he's a valuable part of this team, and I feel like he can fill in fine defensively in left or in right, not necessarily in center field, but I feel like Cortes is someone that is another underlying X factor that I feel like needs to be a part of this 2026 roster. So in terms of his projections, according to Fangraphs, they expect him to make 161 plate appearances, batting .239 with 5 home runs, 19 RBIs, a .710 OPS, a 7.8 walk percentage, and a 21.8 K percentage. So where we are going to predict is focused on his plate appearances. I feel like there's going to be a ton of late game situations that are going to dictate calling on a left-handed hitter to come in against a tough right-handed reliever. And I think Cortes is going to continue to have those quality at-bats. They're going to force him into game action when guys need a day off, or perhaps even just on based on output, that you're going to want to see Cortes in the outfit in the lineup more consistently than we may be expecting. So we're going to project that he's going to have more than 161 plate appearances. We feel a more fitting number will be somewhere in the 200s range. We'll see if we're correct. Wishing Carlos Cortes the best of luck in 2026 and for the remainder of Team Puerto Rico's action in the World Baseball Classic. And with that brings us to the conclusion of another edition of A's Day. We appreciate you stopping by to hear our thoughts on everything A's baseball. On today's show, we did a quick check-in on the A's competing in the ongoing World Baseball Classic, including Darell Hernaiz's historic walk-off home run to aid Team Puerto Rico in being victorious. We checked in down in Mesa for some player performances and how the team has been operating as they are preparing for the start of the 2026 regular season. Later, then, we just talked about the potential of a Shea Langeliers extension, as it was reported a few days ago that the A's have been having discussions on trying to get a deal done there to lock up their backstop for the long term. And then before getting on out of here, we continued on with today's edition of A's Player Preview and Prediction as we stayed in the outfield and talked about Carlos Cortes. We'll be back for our regularly scheduled programming behind the mic for Friday's show. We'll discuss any new occurrences in A's world and news. We are also going to take time to predict the A's opening day roster, as well as discussing a couple of utility options for the 2026 squad as another edition of A's Player Preview and Prediction. They are going to continue to come out, A's Player Preview and Prediction, one a day between then, so you'll want to tune into all of our exciting content as we are under 3 weeks away from the return of regular season action for your A's. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Thank you for all your support. We are so thankful to be back here behind the mic and already can't wait to be talking more A's baseball for Friday's show. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. We'll be here to kick off your weekend. And until then, Holy Toledo, let's go A's.